Today, we're talking about marketplace partners in the Atlassian marketplace, juggling customer success, sales work. And the challenge that we found is that it's not really about effort, it's about focus. So we've got a bunch of things that you can actually really dig your teeth into today, how to practically work sales and success in the Atlassian marketplace. Kate, welcome back. Good to have a chat with you.
Lovely to see you all, and what a great topic.
We're going to go through a handful of ways that marketplace partners can really start dialing up the sales and success work. And what that means is like adding new revenue and then keeping the revenue that you already have. So, do you want to kick us off? What's the first thing that we talk to partners about doing?
Well, we're going to talk later about the time management and focus, but I think I'm going to cut straight to the chase. And the reality is, you have to have some sort of mechanism to know who and where to focus. And in my mind, the fastest, quickest way, and it's all there, people, is to get your product events and pipe it into usage, like with Accoil or whatever system you want to use, and start to actually track the important things. Because it's in my belief, if unless you have visibility on what your customers are doing, you are going to run around like a what is it, chook with your head cut off. So everything we're going to talk about today is how you get laser-like focus and how you sell better and how you support and understand your account health better.
So this is something I've been thinking about a lot lately, where we've got two sort of frames that you can use here. One is a coverage frame, right? Where this is the do more with less sort of thing, where it's like, we're going to try to do everything for everybody. Or you can change your frame to like a leverage frame. And that to me is what you're talking about here. It's about prioritization. Where am I spending my time that has the highest leverage on the business? Be that selling, getting new customers, or on the success side, keeping customers that we already have. So you have some strong opinions on this, right? So we're talking about using product data to see who should we be paying attention to right now. There are some other ways that you can start to narrow your focus, though. You've mentioned here in the notes segmenting your accounts. What's like the first way that you would start segmenting accounts as a marketplace partner?
Okay. So if I'm focusing on the sales side, I would be every day ruthlessly looking at who's coming in and starting new evaluations at an account level, and then also get some sense at a user level of how well and who's using. So that is an everyday task, and that is absolutely critical, getting that actioned and engaging in some way. And I would actually narrow it further, and I would focus on those who were avoid the tire kickers, avoid the ones who are doing really well and they've set up and they look like they're going through to completion and they will potentially get you over the line. The ones who are in the middle, probably about, they've activated some things but not others, probably at around 40%-ish, 40% activation and above. And I would focus in on that and then say, okay, they are the mob, they are the accounts I want to be focusing on. So
So
that's on the sales side,
yeah.
okay? So that's with your sales hat. It's an everyday thing. Then you've got your account health. You cannot do this without segmenting. And it's not just a case of by industry and by size. You actually also want to segment by account health. And the other thing you want to overlay with all of that is when are they renewing? Because this is all about maintaining really good account health so that accounts keep renewing and you don't lose them. So there's lots of signals there, and we've done videos in the past on this, and maybe we'll do another one, Pete. But so that is what you focus on, that is not an everyday thing. That is a less regular. So it's a cadence. When we ran Think to It, I did mine about monthly, and I would map out all of my enterprise customers. I would reverse engineer out 6 months in advance, but maybe 2 to 4 weeks in this environment. So you get depth and breadth of usage and engagement.
To kind of bring this up a level, so the way that, like, to get really practical here, in terms of segmenting your accounts, right? So you've got pre-sales, post-sales, basically, right? So we either have an evaluation that you want to convert to a paying customer, right? And then after that fact, you now have a paying customer. What are you going to do to keep them? So you have deadlines on either side of that. But the way that you could start to segment your accounts, I think, There's a few sort of methodologies for this. A, B, C, D is one way to do it, where you've got your A. It's basically like tiers 1 through 4, right? And so you're looking at small, medium, strategic enterprise customers, engagement level. Are they red hot? Are they cold? And so you're starting to balance these segments on, like what's the opportunity? Hey, if you're a small team, juggling multiple roles. This is all about prioritization. So having that actually mapped out, right, by size, engagement, opportunity, and then, like you said, life cycle, right? Are they trialing, or have they been here for a year and they're coming up on renewal? So I think really important to just actually like map that out for your team so you all know what you're working towards. You've mentioned it a few times already, but what's the cadence, right? So there's the daily cadence. Here's what I'm doing every day. Here's what I'm watching and then doing. Weekly cadence, monthly, quarterly. You touched on it, right? But just to keep it really tactical here, we've segmented our customers. We know who we want to pay attention to every day. What are you doing?
Sales every day. Sales every day. And indeed, if they come into support, you pounce. They come into support and ask a question. To find this at Think Tilt, and maybe with AI and everything, and everybody wants to be hands off. But if they come into support, you literally engage, and you don't just say close off fast. You actually, try and get a sense of what use case, and it's not about you, it's about them. And you give them alternatives and you offer advice. So there's that opportunities that comes in. But for me, I would be looking at again, this is about you having a system. So I'm going to say you've got something like Accoil and you literally monitor every day. And I would actually go one step further and say you set up triggers, because then you don't miss them. You
So
set
you're
up
getting
triggers.
notifications
Yep.
in Slack, you're getting
Slack.
data sent into your,
Yep.
your
And
CRM
if
if
you've
that's
got
where
a
you're working.
HubSpot,
Yeah.
chuck it up into a HubSpot, create yourself a daily task. Yeah. So that's what I would look at. So I would chunk out some time there. And then the other is dependent on your cycle. The reality is new customers onboarding. The data shows that if you activate in an account at least 7% of those in that account within the first 7 days, you are more likely to keep them at the end of 3 months. So that onboarding, making sure that that is happening, is important for the new customers, which we probably haven't talked about. So I'm raising it now. And then, of course, the cadence out a bit longer for the account renewals. And that depends on whether you renewal, whether it's monthly or whether it's an annual.
Yeah. There's a lot in there.
Mhm.
I think just in terms of, walking through this, right? Just again, trying to keep this like a bit actionable here. If you're segmenting your customers, if you start with a daily cadence or a weekly cadence, I think that's probably a good place to start. You can start to expand out on that. You start looking at renewal cycles and all that sort of stuff. But not every customer is going to start and end at the beginning of a quarter. So daily cycle is a good place to start. Checking your numbers, getting your alerts. You mentioned sales before, right? And I think that can seem like this big hairy beast, but the reality is, if you have evals that come in and you have tiered them, and we want to make sure that we talk to enterprise customers. If you've done that work, you've set that up and you've set up your signals, you'll know who to talk to today. So your life actually gets quite a bit easier by doing this work up front. If you're blocking that time every day, I find that to be really helpful. If I basically say no to any meetings before a certain time of the day and just
Well, we do
like,
that, Pete.
yeah,
We have a trial review meeting every single day.
yeah.
Yep.
So that's important too, is like having that time blocked off. We found, you mentioned this before, enlisting support to help with sales. If you're a small team and you're doing all of it, then hey, that's easy. But this is a bit of a mindset shift for support teams, though. I think that, but from our experience, the one that they're eager to participate in, where they are playing a very important role in getting an evaluation over the line, right? So, like you said, going beyond just closing tickets and going for mean time to response rates, which you want to track those, of course, but it's not just churn through, close as many as you can, find use cases, bring in the sales team if you can, just uncover what the pains and the problems are. And you can pull a lot more value out of those interactions with the customers, I find. I think, we've focused a lot on the sales side. On the retention side of things, right? If you know if you're able to track, which you should be through marketplace data, maintenance end dates, all that sort of stuff, when renewals are coming up, establishing that playbook. So this is less about like a daily proactive approach and more about right sizing or right timing, I
Mhm,
should say, when you're
mhm,
going to get engaged with these customers.
mhm,
Ideally, you're constantly like watching them and getting involved and making sure that they're getting value. But if you have an idea when that timeline is, when they're going to renew, whether that's 90 days or more, perhaps with big companies, just
mhm.
having a playbook, having that cadence in place there too, so that you're not surprised. There's lots of opportunity there, right? Especially as partners, a lot of marketplace partners have multiple apps. So you're looking for expansion opportunities. How can you add revenue from the customers that you already have? There's a whole world that we can go into there. And I don't think we're going to do that in this video, but just wanted
No.
to touch on that.
So I think, just so we don't get too repetitive, I think essentially what we're saying to everybody is the only way you're going to do this, if you have to wear multiple hats, the only way you're going to do this is if you prioritize. To prioritize, you actually have to segment and understand what you're trying to achieve. So you reverse engineer from your end game, right? From that, you then say, I need to have a system of work. Doesn't have to be a heavy touch, but for us, we set up segments and we set up alerts. So we understand someone whose account health, who's in our target list, who's declining. We understand that that's happening, and how the hell are we actually going to turn that one around? So to me, it is prioritization, segmentation. It's absolutely focus. It's lightweight systems that are set up. That's systems of work as well as systems of your time, and from there, I think you have a decent crack at getting this done. I mean, ideally, you would separate out the functions once you prove worth, but that'll actually get you started.
And I think that's important to remember, right? We're talking about getting started here. We're not talking about building an entire system in a week. What we found is that if teams start, everyone has these big ambitions, right? We want to build out this entire system where this will all just run. There's AI involved, blah, 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 blah. But the reality is if you segment your customer list down of like, who am I going to be paying attention to like the top 20 most valuable customers that you have, you can make it work. You can have a massive impact on revenue. And once you've dialed that in, like that, this is the exciting part to me. Like you've figured out your systems based on these customers, then you can start to scale that. And I mean, I'm guilty of doing it too. I always want to just hit the ground running. But if you start slow, it feels slow, but there's massive value in really getting clear on
Yeah,
where your leverage points are. And those tend to be the highest value customers, strategic customers. So that's where
yeah.
I would start.
And I think the most important thing for everybody is it actually keeps your sanity, because you can just feel out of control and it just doesn't feel very good.
Yeah.
So that's the other big positive, people. Think about that one.
So all about good times and keeping customers longer. All right, let's wrap on that one. So, just to sort of summarize everything here, it does not have to be this mad dash to keep all the balls in the air all the time. Use the signals that you have. So, product data, you do have support data, use that to help you prioritize, but also segment your customers so that you know where your time has the highest leverage, right? You're going to get the most value from that time by focusing on the most important customers to your business. I'm not saying you ignore everybody else, but it's a good place to start by focusing on those high value customers. Come up with a daily and a weekly cadence and build from there. So don't try to build everything in one day. I think you'll see massive results from that focus and that prioritization.
And feel free to reach out to us if you want to talk about this further.
Always happy
Happy
to chat.
to talk about it.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, everyone. See you next time.
Take care, everyone. Bye.